The Seattle Seahawks last year were one of the biggest surprises in the NFL as they went 9-8 and they made the playoffs when they were expected to be one of the worst teams in the league that year. And while most people are picking the Eagles and the 49ers to represent the NFC in Super Bowl 58, in today's video, I'm going to explain why the Seahawks are in fact a dark horse Super Bowl contender and why they can represent the NFC in Super Bowl 58 this year. But before we do get started, please go ahead and hit that like button if you end up enjoying this video because it really helps out the channel. And of course, subscribe if you guys are new and you guys enjoy content like this. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get this video started. Now, the main reason why Seattle made the playoffs last year was because of their offense. Their offense was one of the best units in the league last year. I mean, statistically, the Seahawks were the 9th best offense. They were the 11th best passing offense. They were 9th in points per game, 10th in points per drive, and they ranked highly in most efficiency stats. And we are all aware of the kind of talent that they have on the offensive side of the football. You have Geno Smith, that quarterback, who last year played like a top 10 quarterback, and he won Comeback Player of the Year for a very good reason. I mean, people thought his career was completely over, but he went out and, yeah, he led the Seahawks to the playoffs while playing like one of the best signal callers in the whole National Football League. And while some people do think that Geno will regress this upcoming season, I mean, I don't really think he's going to fall off. I mean, I know teams are going to have film on him, so he might do a little bit worse. But I am a believer in Geno Smith. He has a really good supporting cast, which we'll talk about in just a few seconds. And he's got a great offensive coordinator in Shane Waldron. Speaking of his supporting cast, you got an elite wide receiving core with DK Metcalf, who's one of the best receivers in the league. Same thing with Tyler Lockett, one of the best receivers in the NFL. And then you added Jackson Smith in Jigba. I mean, he was arguably the best wideout in the 2023 NFL draft. And although I think Zay Flowers was the best receiver in the draft, JSN was number 2 for me, and I could understand why people thought he was the best. I mean, JSN, yeah, he's not much of a burner when it comes to his long speed, but he is a great route runner, really good after the catch, great at separating. I think he's going to dominate in the slot next to DK and Lockett. And then you also got one of the best running back tandems in the NFL with Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. Kenneth Walker, one of the best running backs in the league last year as a rookie. You now pair him up with Zach Charbonnet, who was one of the best running backs in the 2023 NFL draft. And Zach Charbonnet, I think he's going to be a really good third down back. And along with that, I think he's going to be really good when it comes to short yardage situations. And he's going to keep Walker fresh. But yeah, they're incredibly loaded at wide receiver and running back. Tight end, they're fine at. I mean, you got Noah Fant, who's, he's nothing crazy, but he is a good starting tight end. Will Disley's okay. And then rounding things out with their offensive line, I mean, I like the tight end position. It's nothing crazy, but, I mean, they don't have a terrible offensive line. I mean, Charles Cross and Abe Lucas, they were not too bad last year as rookies. I think they'll be even better this year. And you got Damian Lewis on the interior, so yeah, I mean, nothing but great things to say about this offense. I think there's a real chance that they're an elite unit next year, just given the talent that they have on that side of the ball. I could very well see them being a top 3 to 5 offense statistically. But now let's talk about the Seahawks defense. Although Seattle was a big surprise last year, in the second half of the season, they were definitely worse, and I think a large part of that is because of their defense. I mean, their defense was just not good, to put it quite simply. I mean, they were 25th statistically as a unit, 30th in run defense, 25th in scoring defense. They had the 6th worst third down percentage, the 8th worst red zone percentage, and they allowed the 9th most points per drive. And I also do want to mention that they did not rank very high when it came to major efficiency stats. So, yeah, I mean, this defense was just not good, to put it quite simply. But what did Seattle do? in the offseason, they went out and addressed that defense. In free agency, you added Draymond Jones, who's a pretty good defensive tackle. I think he'll definitely bolster that pass rush. You also brought back Bobby Wagner, who, of course, is a Seahawks legend. One of the greatest players of this generation. And, he spent a year with the Rams, but now he's back in town. I mean, Bobby Wagner, he was a fantastic last year, and I think he is one of the best linebackers in the league, despite the fact that he's like 33 years old. And then when you look at the draft, I mean, with the 5th overall pick via the Broncos, who were an absolute disaster last year, you drafted Devon Witherspoon, and even though I thought Christian Gonzalez was the best cornerback in the class, Devon Witherspoon, I think he was the second best corner in the draft, and I mean, I could understand why, some people had him as their number 1 corner, and Devon Witherspoon, I think he's going to be absolutely fantastic next to Tariq Woolen. I think they'll form a great corner duo. You also added Derek Hall in the draft, and Derek Hall, I thought he was one of the better edge rushers in the draft, and I think he's going to be a pretty good run stopper, should be pretty good on early downs. I don't know how good of a pass rusher he'll be at first. I think he's going to take like a year or two before he becomes, a great pass rusher and a really good run defender. So, yeah, pretty good additions via the draft and free agency. And even though they weren't a very good defense last year, I mean, they do have talent on that side of the ball. I mean, you have Tariq Woolen, who's one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. I mentioned Devon Witherspoon already. You got Kobe Bryant, not the basketball player, of course. Kobe Bryant, he was a rookie corner last year. He was like a 3rd, 4th round pick. I mean, he was fine. I do think he will get better next year, just given the fact that he's more experienced. And rookie cornerbacks, a lot of times they do struggle in their first season, and understandably so. But as for the safety position, Jamal Adams, he was hurt virtually all of last year. He's going to be fully healthy this season, and I think, when he is on the field, he is a good player. Yeah, he's not a top 5 safety like he was in New York, but I do think he is very good when he's on the field. I think he's going to have a pretty big impact on that defense. Quandre Diggs had a little bit of a down year last season, but I do think he's going to be much better. And then when you look at their front 7, they already had Uchenna Nwosu, who was terrific for them. He just got a big extension in right, and I mean, it was well deserved. One of the best edge rushers in the NFL last year. They also had Darrell Taylor, who was, he was fine last year, not too bad. And they did draft Boye Mafe in the 2022 NFL draft, and Boye Mafe was one of those those project players who he was gonna take. It was gonna be some time before he did make an impact, and his first season really wasn't that eventful like I predicted, but I do think next year he will be more of a contributor, just given the fact that he is more experienced. And, with time, Boye Mafe is going to be a really good player, in my opinion, with the right coaching. And, of course, you already had Jordan Brooks, and unfortunately, he tore his ACL late last year, I believe, and while he is going to miss, a good portion of 2023, I believe, I do think he's going to be pretty good when he does come back. So, this defense, I don't think it's going to play at a top 5 level, but, I do think it's going to be a lot better. And I think they should be at least an average unit. I mean, they don't really have to play at a top 3 to 5 level. They just got to be, well, not trash. They got to be like average to above average. Now, taking a look at their schedule, I'll admit, it's really not that easy. I mean, they play the NFC East and the AFC North, 2 of the best divisions in the league, but I do think that they can, win at least two NFC East games and at least 2 AFC North games. And their own division, outside of the 49ers, really is not that good. And then their last 3 games are against the Titans, Lions, and Panthers, and I think all those teams will be pretty solid this year, but all 3 of those games, they're very winnable. I could definitely see Seattle coming out on top, and even with their hard schedule, I think they can overcome it by just being a good team. I mean, you're looking at a squad with one of the best offenses in the NFL, combined with the defense that, while it was pretty bad last year, they made several good they made some nice additions to that defense. And Jamal Adams, one of their best players on defense, is coming back fully healthy. And because of that, I think their defense will play at an average to a potentially above average level. And they won 9 games last year with a terrible defense, and now that they got an even better offense and a much improved defense, I think they're very capable of winning at least 10 or 11 games. And, I do think they are damn near a lot. They're pretty much a lock to make the playoffs if you ask me. And I do think there is a chance that they make the Super Bowl. I mean, yeah, it's not going to be, it won't be easy with the Eagles and the Niners. They are great teams. But, if their offense, again, if it plays at an elite level, and if that defense can play at, let's say an above average level, then the Seahawks could very well make it to the Super Bowl, and who knows, maybe they win the whole thing. But that's all I gotta say for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. It really means a lot to me. Again, like, subscribe, do all of that stuff, and check me out on social media. The links to my Twitter and Instagram, they are in the description below. But without further ado, I'm out, you guys.